Welcome to CTO, Cruising the Okanagan. I'm Anna Marie.
I'm Ed.
Today, Ed and I have taken a cruise into Vernon, BC, where we're sitting here in Brian Neal's shop, and sitting beside Brian is Mike Fox.
Well, I'm sure you guys have a lot to say, because how many years has it been?
25 years.
25 years. So I guess my first questions are why and how?
Well, that's actually a good question because back in the day, the Cam Jammers were really the only real event that was going on, and they had an event in town, and we used to go to that, and I'd been into Mustangs, and as everybody knows me for that, and I decided that I really wanted to do a little more shows, but the only shows were in Kelowna and Penticton, and Penticton was a really good event, and I really liked it because it didn't have. There were some times when there were shows that had just a few trophies, but this one had everything, and it represented all the cars of all the years, and I'm a big car guy, regardless of me being a Mustang guy. So, anyway, I really took to that model, and I thought, I can do this. So I came back home, and I thought, I'm going to approach the Ford dealer, because I was really a Ford guy. And so I went in there, and I approached J.R. Eaton, and then I said, hey man, I can do this show. And I was a young guy. I was in my 20s. Really, I think I was in my 20s. I know it's been a while. But anyway, and
teenager.
he bought into it, and he says, I'm going to talk to Bruce Blankley. So, and I waited a little bit, and he's like, okay, we'll do this. But I got a guy. So then he says, Len Fraser. Len Fraser's my guy. He's done shows on the coast. So Len and I decided to take on the event, and Len took on all of the things that basically pertain to the dealership, and I took on all of the other stuff that pertained to the show. And I really didn't have any idea how to do it. Voting forms, there was so much involved. And I decided to get a sponsor for every trophy, and I was like, what was I thinking? But I soon learned to do it a little differently after that. But anyway, I beat the pavement, and I got the community to buy into it. And because I wanted it to be something that everybody knew, because in Penticton and Kelowna, everybody knew those shows every year, and I wanted it to be something like that, but I wanted it to be nonprofit, charitable, and something the community would love. So that's pretty much how it all kind of came down, and so we started the event, and I did it for a few years, and I tried my hardest, but had young kids and a family, and I just couldn't do it on my own, so I reached out to some of the local car clubs, and lo and behold, Brian Neal came and got a hold of me one evening and said, I want to talk. So I was like, hey, this is wonderful. I was like, oh my God, thank you. And I think we went to Uncle Dave's, I think it was, and Uncle Dave's Pizza for some reason that comes to my mind. But all of a sudden, hey, I want to help you out, but we want to do something different. And I was like, okay. He goes, I want to make it a 3-day event. I thought, wow, I knew what work it was to do one, but Brian wanted to do 3, and okay, let's do it. And we shook hands, and here we are today.
Away we went.
Yeah, away we went. And
yeah. Well, and back then, there wasn't a lot of stuff in the valley for people to show off their cars.
No.
I remember that.
A lot of the shows, they were either like the Cam Jammers had a lot of the older guys in it. There was an older demographic in the show at times then, and a lot more of the 50s and 60s style, and honestly not a lot of stuff for us younger guys. The Mustangs and the Chevelles and the Camaros really didn't come out to the shows that much.
Yeah.
And I wanted something that was going to bring it all out, and it did. It brought out not everything. There was so much variety that we had at the show. And that's I think what the Sun Valley.
I guess, what year did it start?
So we started, I guess it would have been 1998, and that was the first time I'd been able to get it going. It took me all the planning from the year previous to sort of think about how I was going to do it, and so 98.
And now it's one of the premier shows, and it's the amount of cars. There was a ton this year.
I know, incredible show this year.
But
incredible.
It's a small town. It's a big show with a small town feel, is what I felt there.
That's the magic of having it at the park and being in downtown Vernon and bringing the city of Vernon into it, and Vernon is just an amazing place, and it's an amazing city, and I'm just honestly I'm just overwhelmed every year it comes on. It's just so awesome. The people that are doing it now are doing an amazing job.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
It was fun, but Vernon was an older community then, and it was harder to get some of the things that happened in the bigger cities going, and it took a lot of politicking and a lot of
Public support wasn't there at that time.
Yeah, it really wasn't. But going into the park, that was probably one of our biggest hurdles. Getting downtown really, I don't think was that bad in the beginning, but getting in the park, getting them to buy into us parking all those vehicles in the grass, and
I guess
it's a lot of politicking.
Well, the getting into the park had been a real stumbling block for a lot of different clubs and organizations to do anything in the park. And just by luck, I knew somebody at the city, approached them, and it was go, let's do it. And we went from there.
Yeah.
2004 2004 was the first 3-day event. 2005 was the first year in the park. First year, 2004, we did downtown. We did Uncle Dave's Pizza parking lot on the Saturday, and Watkin Motors on Sunday. The following year, we did downtown Friday night. We did a barbecue for all the participants at Kim Beach on Saturday, poker run, cruise, and then Polson Park Sunday.
One of the great things about having Brian come in and us work together was he'd been doing car shows when I was just a little kid, or probably before I was even born, and he knew what he was doing, and I didn't. I always said that, the strength of one person is from all the people that back you up, and he just made the show better. He made me a better person, a better leader in the show, and I couldn't have done it without you, man.
Well, yeah, likewise, but we had a great crew. We had a small crew. Our committee consisted of 12 people. The rest of the people who helped put that show on were all friends, family. A lot of them weren't car people, but they came for the weekend from out of town, from all over. Mm-hmm. And it was a great weekend. We enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun doing that.
Do you remember how many cars would show up for your shows back then?
Sure.
Like now you're pulling in, 500.
Yeah.
So
well,
back in the day when you started,
in the day,
like say 2005 in the park, do you remember how many cars were there?
yeah, there was a little over 300.
Oh wow.
The most we ever had in the park was just touching 400. And we thought that was incredible at the time. Mm-hmm. And now look at, it's just incredible the amount of people that come to the show.
Great.
We also had, at that time, we had a lot of people, younger people in the car hobby that scheduled their holidays for that weekend in Vernon, brought their kids, did the whole thing at the beach. Mm-hmm. We always made sure that we had games for the kids, prizes for the kids, a lot of prizes for the big kids, and just tried to make it as much fun for the participants and their families.
One of the great things at the beach was we had a frozen T-shirt
Oh, yeah.
contest, and you had to, we froze these T-shirts, and you had to
That
get
was
it out of the
hilarious.
cooler, you had to somehow get it to unwrap, and then you had to somehow get it on. Well, this thing is frozen, and it took time because, the sun had to kind of beat down and warm it up as you're peeling it apart, and oh my God, I don't think I actually did it, but I remember watching people, and as they were all you're putting on a frozen T-shirt.
We would have the whole
my God.
stage in Polson Park lined up with we had a group of men and a group of ladies doing that, and it was just hilarious watching people trying to pull them things on half frozen.
Oh, we should bring that back because I know
That's
this
cool.
year, Ed, it was so hot. I think we hit over 36 degrees.
I would have been
It was real
happy
hot.
with
So,
that. Yeah,
let's bring
I
that
was really
back.
happy.
We just have them all frozen in a cooler, and Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Interesting.
Who
Great
came
partic-
up with that one?
I can't remember.
That's hilarious.
Someone in the committee came up with it,
Yeah.
and it was from somewhere in the past.
Yeah.
That
That
is
these
cool.
people brought all this stuff forward. All this imagination came from the committee. It was a great committee.
Yeah, we had at the beach at Kin Park on the Saturday, we would have different games, valve cover races, wheelbarrow races with a bag over your head for prizes, race car changing tires for
remember that.
time. That was a big hit.
Yeah, pit crew.
Yeah,
I
a lot
remember
of
seeing that one year.
Yeah.
Now that you
Yeah.
say it,
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Nobody cross-threaded any lug nuts, so it was good.
Yeah, the poker run was another big hit. Every year we would have over 100 people sometimes in the poker run. Mike had a friend that would help us block traffic for the cruise.
Oh yeah.
Permits, of course, right?
Yeah, I had friends in the RCMP then, and they were at the detachment, and they helped us out quite a bit for some of that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing I've noticed through the conversation is you guys accidentally had the perfect match pretty much, because you brought in the older guys and you brought in the young guys,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
really I think that was key
Yeah.
in your success
Yeah.
early on. I think.
You know, one of the things I always knew that you had to have everybody involved if you were going to make it an all-city event, and at one point we brought in the young fellas who aren't so young anymore, but we call them the tuner cars,
tuner
and there was
cars,
a
yeah.
local shop here that used to take little Hondas and supercharge and turbocharge and all kind of crazy stuff these guys were doing, and we got those guys involved, and
What a group, too.
yeah.
Absolutely.
they brought another level of
Yeah.
energy that I couldn't even relate to.
And remain friends to this day.
To
Just
this day.
absolutely super.
To this day,
Yeah.
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 What were you driving back then?
Me?
Yeah,
That same 52 Chev that's outside.
Beautiful, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful car.
and what Mustang were you driving back
I
then?
had, I've had a few, but I had a red 67 fastback, but I think at the time I had a 70 Mach 1, a white one. Yeah, with a Cleveland 4-speed. It was great.
Oh, yeah, you don't
Yeah.
miss it at all, right?
Mike and Brian, so the show is called Sun Valley Cruisin'. How did that name come about?
Well, it kind of started as the Watkin Motors Show and Shine, and I did that because it was Watkin Motors. It was their premier event and their only event really, and that was to honor them. And once again, I was a Ford guy, I was a Mustang guy, so I was really the blue oval guy, and I needed to have that. So I thought that was the right thing to do, especially when they're putting in the lion's share of the money. But everything changed when Brian got involved, and Vernon is the Sun Valley. There's a lot of businesses that are named Sun Valley, Sun Country, Sun something, and it just made sense to be the Sun Valley Cruisin'.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, that just was a spur of the moment. At a meeting we had one night, what are we going to call this 3-day event? Somebody said Sun Valley Cruisin'. It's no debate about it. It was universally accepted, and that's how it came about.
Kind of natural.
It's pretty easy,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it sounded good.
Sure did.
And
You can
there is confusion. Are you guys affiliated with the car club?
Initially, no. I belonged to the Sun Valley Cruisers since, I believe, 97 or 98. But the Sun Valley Cruisers Car Club was a loose affiliation, no rules, regulations, no executive, nothing. One of the things they had always kind of maintained was they weren't going to ever have a car show. And that's fine. So, yeah, there was a little bit of confusion when we come up with the name, because it automatically, people thought it was the Sun Valley Cruisers doing the car show. A lot of the people in our committee were Sun Valley Cruisers members, but the car club itself really wasn't affiliated with the car show. I guess yes and no. You know,
Yeah, they really, at the point, I mean, didn't really want to be kind of part of that, but they were part of it. So they didn't really want the name there, but they were all there. So I mean, everyone was there, you know. So yeah. It would honestly, it was a little tough in the beginning because I wanted to embrace that car club as well initially because I wanted to be inclusive with everyone. I didn't want anyone to be left out. You know, the Mopars were involved. Like even early on in the show, I had different categories and I had a section just for the Mopar club. And whatever club they wanted, as long as they came in together, they could park together. That's always was my motto.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring them all in and let them all to be part of it. It would be better for the show in the end. I definitely knew that.
Well, I like that too because, yeah, I belong to a car club as well, Roadmen Canada.
Yeah.
And it was so nice to see all the club members parked in the same spot.
Yeah.
So that I think it does add to the show.
That was
Golden
one
rule.
thing that
Well,
we stressed was we can't reserve spots for anybody. Come together, you can park together. We'll do our best to accommodate you, but we can't reserve a block here and a block there.
That was actually my first mistake in the very first year was I had calls from certain car clubs and groups and I had sort of sectioned off areas. I was really trying to please everybody. And I ended up having holes in the show at the front, especially off the street, and I didn't think that was a good visual for growth and for success. So after that, it was, no, if you want to come in together, you gotta, if you wanted to park together, you had to come in together.
What I like that. And that brings up another question. Traditions.
Yeah.
What traditions do you have for the show?
What traditions?
Yeah.
Oh boy. It's just, from my point of view, hot rod culture. I've been involved in the hot rod hobby. I don't really want to tell you, but this year is 56 years that I've been involved in the hot rod hobby in one form or another. 11 years old.
Yeah, complete
So
lifestyle.
yeah, so that's what I tried to bring to the show was the hot rod culture. It waned for a number of years. It's great to see now young people getting back involved in the hot rod culture. In the car culture, period.
Yeah, I mean, I can't obviously take credit for what they're doing nowadays. I have no real involvement anymore. So, but initially, I wanted it to be to support nonprofit local Vernon institutions and direct to the shelf. Like the food bank was always one of mine. You could either bring food or you could put money in and it would go direct to the food bank. That had an impact. And the SPCA was the second one that we brought in. And today they still, not necessarily those institutions, but they support local charity and support the people of Vernon, and that's the most important thing. It's good in twofold. One is it's just good for the city, and secondly, it really makes people remember the show and make people proud of a show and proud of an event that's in Vernon. So
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's really cool.
And those two charities stayed for my duration with the show. They remained as our top two.
yeah.
If I can add another thing, the city of Vernon at that time when we approached for the 3-day event, the city just opened their arms. Whatever you want to do, whatever we can do to help, the Downtown Vernon Association, I can't say enough about their support. We couldn't have done it without them, of course. But it was great. And having that reassurance from them made the whole thing a lot more fun for everybody that was working the show. That's one thing we tried to do was make it fun for everybody, including us. And I think it worked.
I think so. For sure. The having all those institutions, the institutions that I refer to as the politicking. When there wasn't so much politicking, there wasn't so much liability back in those days. Now there's more rules and things based on people getting hurt and safety and stuff, and we didn't have as much back then. And although I believe we did have an ambulance service and stuff, there were already things that the city had in place, so we did have those. But it's harder to run an event now, I think.
Yeah.
So And that's in any municipality, so it's no different.
And Watkin Motors stuck with us right through the whole, you know, they provided vehicles if we needed them. They provided the insurance for the whole weekend because it was billed as the Watkin Motors Sun Valley Cruise-In. So we were under their blanket insurance, the vehicles, the donations. Yeah, it was pretty amazing what they did.
You know, there was a time right before Brian got involved that I wasn't sure. It was, you know, you're 4 or 5 years into the show, and everyone was kind of tired, and I don't know if Watkin Motors was seeing the importance of the show maybe in the business community and stuff, and I was sort of maybe thinking about shopping around and see who would host the event, and I had some interest. There were certainly some people that wanted it, and I think I went back to Watkin Motors and I was like, hey guys, like, you know, there's an opportunity here, but it means that I'm going to have to change sponsors, and yeah, they didn't want any part of that, and they were locked in after that. So I think the value is there.
And you brought up another thing, community support and involvement. That's so important because we all know, being more on the inside, the revenue it brings to a city.
We were told at one time, and I won't say because I can't recall the exact figure, but we were told by one of the representatives from the city how much we brought in for that 3-day weekend, and it was astonishing the amount of money that we brought in.
Oh yeah, the hotels, your
Everything.
restaurants,
And then
gas stations.
you've got the trickle down effect. I've met so many people that have actually moved here, and it's all your guys' fault, you know.
My God.
Yeah, glad we could help. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I had many years. I had trailers, campers. My house was full.
Your house is always full.
Relatives that lived in Vernon opened their doors. Cooked meals, barbecues. Babysat for some of the younger people that came here. Babysat their dogs because at the time there was no dogs allowed in any of the parks. That's another funny story, but for another time. A bylaw chasing people with dogs through the park, and we're hiding the dogs.
Oh yeah, that's one of the funny stories.
Well, that's another one.
Yeah.
There's got to be stories that stand out for both of you.
Yeah, there is. Some are, you know, I don't want to really repeat, but you know, one instance, one year I got a call from a fella that has a Corvette restoration shop in Santa Rosa, California. He said, I just had some information here about your car show. And he said, my wife and I take our motorhome and our 58 Corvette, and we go to a different show every year in the U.S. He said, we've never been to Canada. What can I expect? And I said, well, I guess you'll just have to come and find out. Yeah. Okay, can you get me a pull-through spot for my RV? Yeah, we can do that. So we got them in. That night, they were parked downtown, no top on the Corvette, and a storm came through that you wouldn't believe. They were in eating. Some of the guys grabbed a canopy, set over that Corvette. When they come out, the guy was in tears. He said, I don't believe what happened here. And later on, when they left, he said, you wait till I get back to California. Tell people.
Those Canadians are so nice.
Yeah, it was, you know, and we had people from California, Washington, Oregon, Montana, Idaho, Florida, all the provinces as far as Quebec.
Yeah.
You know.
They used to they were planning a whirlwind tour around North America or something. They try to stop here. We meet our date right, so yeah.
That's neat because you meet, because I see it as more of a community here. Like you see a lot of people driving cars, but the Okanagan really is a car culture community, and you guys are a big part of bringing that together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you from us. Like it's a really a unique place to be right now.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, I got to tell you, you guys have brought, you guys have united the entire valley, if not the southern province. I don't know how far you even extend, but man, I've watched you guys develop and grow, and wow, I just can't believe you guys are everywhere.
Oh, thanks.
We love what we do.
Congratulations to that. But I feel proud as well, because I feel like this is Vernon again,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
extending the
Shine.
olive branch
Yeah.
everywhere, and this is amazing. So
And
really-
to have a part of getting it where it is today,
oh my goodness.
you know. I
Well,
mean,
that's what I was gonna say. You guys planted the seed to create more, right? So it's
Yeah.
I love that.
You know, I was just thinking of one story comes to my mind I got to share with you. I was this is at the dealership, I think it was year 3, and I always had a band. So I can't remember the name of the band at the time, but it was a rock band. And the guy had his expensive microphone, and I was doing the awards then, right? So I'm standing there, and he had his small, I don't know, what do you call them, the monitor speakers or whatever, sitting on the stage. And I was moving around, and you know, I was way more energetic back then because I was obviously more younger. But anyway, I got this microphone, this expensive new microphone, and I tripped over the speaker. And I landed on my back, and I didn't stop. I just kept talking, and I got up, and I barely missed a beat. But I just remember the time I was so embarrassed, but the show must go on. And it went on. I was so embarrassed.
A true amateur professional.
there was a lot of laughs over that one, but
Oh my goodness. Some are probably going, that's about time to shut
he
that
couldn't
guy
have
up.
scripted it any better.
Oh my goodness.
Great times.
Yeah. I was pretty energetic and pretty outgoing, and I think I might have been a little much for some people, but I was a lot younger then, so. But, oh well, you got to have some energy to kind of pull this off, right?
Gotta have fun,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, we were characters.
Well,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, our committee, it would be either A&W would supply food for our committee. If we didn't have somebody who was doing that, we would go and buy Kentucky chicken, or
Yeah, pizza, chicken, whatever.
we'd have that in the park after everything was done. We'd do a big sweep of the park to clean up all the bottles and cans. All the food that was left over from that went to the homeless people.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
And we never had any problem at all.
Yeah.
Was it because of that? I don't know, but I guess it helped.
Well, Food Safe was a little different. You could support, like I say, you could support
Yeah.
homeless, and you could support people that really needed it a little bit more. It's just more difficult for that to give that
Liabilities.
kind of support nowadays.
Yeah.
But it was easier for us back then. So, and we always, we always sat around and we reminisced about the day and about the event in general. And there might have been a beer or two getting passed around. I think Brian missed that part, but yeah, you know, you got to celebrate. And when they're volunteer things like this, you need to cherish everyone's help, no matter if it's a little or it's a lot. It takes it takes an army to put on an event like this, and you know, so it has to be done. And you know, cheers to everyone that just did the last event. Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
It's amazing
Bravo.
now to see. When I was involved, we weren't allowed to use the infield of the park because the track was still being used and whatnot. But now that the infield can be used, just to see that full as well as the park full.
We can get another 200 cars in
Well,
there.
yeah, there's a lot more room for cars, I noticed.
Yeah, do you know, initially, before the first show in Polson Park, I walked through with the park superintendent and another person from the city, I can't remember who. We did, I don't know how many nights one week going in there without the infield of where the track is, stretching it down past the fountain and the play area for the kids and that. You know, you can put 1,000 cars in that park without touching the infield. I couldn't believe it, and we went over it, and over it, and over it. And say, yeah, we can fit 1,000 cars here.
So you got room to
And-
grow.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
we
hope,
should
I
tell
hope
people
one day
that,
we can see that. Yeah, for sure.
Well, the way this event is growing and developing, it won't take long by the looks of it. So.
Oh, no.
Well, and this, I just found this year exceptional. It really showed how the car culture has become such a big community. You know, it was just a feeling that you only get replicated in small town shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Kelowna gets a lot of really good quality shows, but these people are coming to Vernon now to attend this show.
Yeah.
And they're coming more and more. So, you know, that just tells you that you're putting on a good event when you can pull people from out of town. Regardless of people that are on vacation and just doing tours, we're actually, the show is pulling people from a long ways out of town to come here for that.
Yeah.
Because we have Vernon, we have the lakes, we have a great car event, plus you can drive your car around town and, you know, not have to dodge too many potholes, and you can actually have a really good time with it. So
It's
yeah.
still probably in the top 5 shows in BC at this time. And I think, I mean, I have dash plaques probably with 300 shows that I've been to, but the Vernon show is still right at the top as far as I'm concerned.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I really agree.
I grew up in Vernon. So back in the
Yeah.
70s and the 80s, before the Sun Valley Cruise In, we had 32nd Avenue, and that's where we pulled Mainers.
Yeah.
Up and down, Friday night, all night long. And this was before they closed the Suicide Hill.
Yeah.
We could go up it and we could go down it. And you were either flying up or you were flying down. So
I
yeah, a
hear
lot of great
stories.
memories there.
Well, that's,
It's great to have a park now where we can all come together, you
Yeah.
know, and we'll just drive up and down the road, which that was cool though for its era back in
Yeah.
those days, you know.
I still miss catching airtime off Suicide though. That was
So does my daughter. I didn't find that out till she was about 25 years old.
I didn't like the ghetto blaster in the back of the head though. That hurt at times.
Right?
You know, I got to tell you guys, one of the things as my vision of the show when I started it was to create an event that would be everlasting somehow. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but would be annual, that would be recognized, that would be nonprofit, supporting the community, and would have its own legs with or without me, because I couldn't do it forever. There was no way I was ever going to be able to do that, and you know what, it did, and I couldn't have done it without Brian and the rest of the gang that he brought to the group, and there's no way. But I'm so proud of everyone that's taken this show to the next level, and you know, to the next 25 years. Go for it, man. Get involved in the show.
Yeah.
Become a car
Yeah.
person. Find whatever you want. Get something. Just get involved. Yeah.
And we have a list of the core people and volunteers that we had over the years that really deserve a lot of credit too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I started out the first year Mike did the show just helping park cars.
You did.
And,
You did. Because you knew.
Sure.
You knew.
That's a very important job,
Well,
parking
he knew.
cars.
He knew how hard it was to pull an event off. I knew that.
Yeah.
We had a fella, I can't tell you his nickname. I can tell you his first name was Ed. He
Not
was,
me.
he was, he
No.
was from West Kelowna. He was our official parker in the park. And you should have seen this guy in action.
Yeah, I think
And
he was
I'll
with the
tell you off
military.
camera what his name was, his nickname, but it's pretty hard. You would have had to see him park the cars.
Like a drill sergeant?
Well, a little bit farther up the command than a drill sergeant, but that's heading in the right direction. And he was famous. He
Yeah.
was famous.
If
for
they
it.
ever heard the saying like herding cats, I bet he could have herded those cats.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Just some of the characters we had that
yeah.
you know, and again, he added another element of fun to the whole thing.
We're
Instead
laughing
of
now.
having people, you know, mad at him, I want to park here. You're not parking there, you're parking over there. I want to park in the shade. Well, okay, we'll put you in the shade, but in 3 hours there's no shade there, so take your pick. You know, just little things like that yeah, it just, you know, kind of enlightened the whole procedure and made it fun. Yeah, it can be, I mean, you know, people at the gates coming into the park and that can be a little monotonous and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we had people that's all they wanted to do. Stand out there in 35-degree heat all day long with a bottle of water or whatever. And that was their job and they loved it, you know?
Yeah, there were some times when some of the guys, they complained, oh, it was hot, and they complained, but they were back next year. Didn't matter. They were coming back. You know, anyone, you can be an amateur and a volunteer, and you can pull a show together, but to really make it a little more professional, that's politically correct and that will please, because it takes money in business. Everyone's got to be involved. You need those kind of people, and I don't know if we could have taken it to that next level. I don't know if you and I could have done that, but
Not without the help we had.
yeah, that's right.
Way.
I think if there was one thing I was going to say about this entire thing, I would say, after all these years, thank you to Watkin Motors, to Ross Blankley for continuing to support the show and seeing the vision and what it is in the community. And thanks to the City of Vernon and to the Downtown Vernon Association, even with all the politicking and all the things that change and the leadership that changes, but just continuing to open the doors for the culture to flock into downtown. And you know, and there's always upsides and downsides to, does it support business? Is it good for this? Is it good for that? It's always good, and it needs to continue. It puts Vernon on the map at that time of year. There's other events that do an amazing job of putting Vernon on the map, but this is our summertime event. This is the one.
Well, and that, you know, that I think about expenses like that. You guys must have been upside down before the show's personal finances when you first started. I would imagine you probably spent quite a bit.
Well, it was a learning curve for sure. But you know, again, we had a couple of our committee members were not in the financial business, but business owners that really helped us out a lot with the financial end of things. So, you know, we were okay. We were okay through the whole thing.
Oh, nice.
And a lot of money that was left over, like we did our charity thing, but we kept a lot of money left over as well.
Yeah, I started it, but it's not my show. This is your show. This is their show. I'm just an originator. That's it, and I don't want to take credit for that. But you know, you guys keep on going. Yeah,
Sure. Yeah, it's fun to be a participant now.
Yeah.
And just sit back and watch what's going on. That's I get more pleasure out of that than
I guess we'll see you at the show
Plus.
next year.
you will.
You will. We'll be
Cool.
here.
Yeah.
So until next time, you're on the road with CTO.
Life's just better